Oh, the carnage continues, my friends. Bitcoin breaks 6K with force. Is this the capitulation? Is this what we're seeing here? Maybe, finally. Oh, man, oh, man. If you're still holding, that's a tough call. If you're not sure if should you dump here, certainly a lot of stops have been triggered with this most recent selling pressure. Could it bounce? Will it bounce? It'll absolutely bounce. This big part is, where does it bounce from? It's a little scary when prices are moving this fast, when they're going down with such force, with such volume. But will there be a bounce? And, I was kind of thinking, is this a catch the fallen knife scenario? Do you buy the dip here? Even for a bounce trade, I mean, we haven't had a pretty good oversold bounce trade scenario in quite some time. This may be setting one up here. So if you're just joining, thanks for being here. I just posted this, so we'll give it a few minutes, let some more folks come in. I was doing a live stream, a morning update with my Slack group, and I was looking at when we started, it was like looking like this, and I was going, hey, we're right in this support zone. Let's see how this plays out here today. And just during the middle of the live stream, I was thinking, wow, I was not expecting such dramatic action during this morning update. So I figured I got to jump off the group stream and head over to the broader channel and get some live action for the broader community going. So for those of you that are joining me again, thank you for being here. For those of you that are here for the first time, thank you for being here. But man, who's buying the bounce? Who's buying the dip? So looking at Bitcoin, let's take a look at the chart here. This is a new yearly low for Bitcoin. It finally breaks out from that very tight pattern it's been. Unfortunately, it breaks downward out of that descending triangle pattern that we've been seeing. Over the last couple of months, we've seen this base hold. It's finally losing that value here today. So you saw that level touched in July. In August, it was hit twice. It was hit in September. It was hit in October. And here we are testing it again. And the thing with these levels is when they're hit that many times, the break becomes significant because that is just such a major support level that has been touched, tested, and held. But we never really saw big bounces, right? The bounces were getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then here over the last couple of weeks, we were seeing just historically low volatility. The volatility was, you'd have to go back 2 years to see that low percentage basis move. And here we are seeing a big break lower. And now the question is, where is the low? Where's the next level that we've been watching? So for those of you that have been following along, we've been talking about, this is really the level that I'm watching back here. This was the big time support that we saw last year. This was also lining up with some key retracement levels. And so it'll be interesting to see if that's hit here this week. I mean, could we see 5K? Maybe. It's a pretty big break here in the near term. The other scenario that I was talking about here that we want to be looking out for is that shakeout, fake out, right? That's what the bulls want to see. Obviously, that'd be the best case scenario. And by that, I mean, you finally get that break lower, kind of washes everybody out, takes out the stops, it's capitulation, and then we quickly reverse and start heading higher. And by quickly, I don't mean like 1 day reversal. It like shakes everybody out. CNBC is talking about Bitcoin's dead, everything's done, we've broken lower. All the forecasts start coming out for 3K, for 1,200 Bitcoin, for 500 Bitcoin, and then it just pulls back higher and just starts marching up and we're done. So that would be awesome. But for now, 1 day at a time, as I like to say it. The other thing to make note of here is this level of support is significant. Now that it's been breached, what you don't want to see is, if it starts living below it for, a couple of weeks, longer time. If it starts bouncing into that, can't get above, likely you'll see another leg lower, right? So just keep that in mind. It's very typical action. Like if you're shorting, that's what you look for, right? You look for that break, you look for the throwback, and then the next leg down. It's similar to buying a breakout, right? When you buy a breakout and it breaks out, and then you enter on a throwback, and then you're looking for some trend continuation. This would be the same thing in this scenario, this big descending triangle base. The fact that it's broken so quickly And after being flat for so long, it's really pushing all the metrics into oversold conditions really quickly. So would not surprise me to see a little bit of a bounce first. You're seeing the daily RSI well into the 20s, was hitting some pretty extreme lows here just a little bit ago. Seeing that 4-hour candle, big wick starting to show up here, but 4-hour RSI was in single digits. The sell-off has been pretty quick, pretty intense. Look at the volume on this sell-off here. Let me see if I can move my chart up because the volume was pretty wild. I mean, this just dwarfs any volume we've seen here, probably all year or the last couple months. I think the day's not over yet though. So the last daily volume spikes we saw were the big scares in October, and again that was Tether too, right? We saw the big shake off, and then we saw the Tether spike a few days later. I would imagine this volume is going to compete with it a little bit here today. Let's look at it on some of the other exchanges. Binance, yeah, so here's the thing. We're seeing that price disparity showing up between the USD exchanges and the Binance exchanges again. And a lot of that has been the Tether pressure. Tether is selling off, right? And so if you had to, excuse me, frog in my throat. If you had to pick between the two, would you rather hold Bitcoin or would you rather be in Tether, right? And that's always a big scare. Look at the selling pressure you're seeing here in Tether. And again, some of this comes from the loss of confidence in Bitfinex, the withdrawals. Sorry, I had to clear my throat without yelling into the mic. And so Tether is certainly taking a hit. True USD, one of the stables that's on Binance, you've seen that one had a big spike here the last couple of days. Overnight had spiked as high as 6% versus Tether. I expect this will continue to hold up relatively well as long as Tether's dropping. You're seeing PAX head higher, right? So it's like, where do you go? If you don't want to be in Bitcoin, if you don't want to withstand the shake off, you don't want to live through this, do you go into Tether? Do you go into something else? I'm not too comfortable being 100% in Tether, to be honest with you. So that's just me, especially when you start to see this. I'd rather be in one of the other stable coins if I'm on an exchange like Binance. If you're like in Coinbase or Bitstamp or Kraken or whatever, where they're truly fiat-based pairs, you know, dollar, euro, yen, pound, that sort of thing, then you can always go into that pair there. So $5,600 on Coinbase here. Let me see, what was the low? I'm looking at the price, trying to get the exact low on that ticker there. That's 55.60, new yearly low for Bitcoin. The 3-day chart, yeah, I saw a lot of that, a lot of talk about that. I'm just, you know, it's entertaining, right? We had the death cross a few months back, and then now we have the 3-day death cross, and just it is what it is. I don't use 3-day charts personally. So looking at Bitcoin Cash, the Bitcoin Cash debacle continues. We've got that fork coming in tomorrow is where that is scheduled to happen. And so you're seeing that sell off well ahead of that. Fully has retraced this entire move from Bitcoin Cash. I know there was a lot of folks anticipating a potential spike right into that fork. Never saw it. Just seeing a lot of that happen right now. And, you know, there was concern about if the mining hash power shifts away from Bitcoin and supports one of the forks, would that impact the price and all that fun stuff? And getting a little technical there. I know a lot of you guys are much more enlightened from that perspective, but in the longer term, you know, if Bitcoin Cash just fizzles away and dies, I'm not in the camp that it's going to totally take down the market with it, right? It's just, I mean, it's just not going to happen in the long term if Bitcoin Cash goes away. Near term, could there be some of this? They're already seeing it. So, all right, 55, 57. Anybody buy 5,500 Bitcoin? I didn't. I was on a live stream. All right, let's see here. I'm going to go through some of this craziness, comments, looking at the charts here. And some of these other charts are really broken and bearish here. We'll take a look at some of those as well. Oh, let me see here. Ripple. We'll take a look at Ripple. We'll look at some of these others. Let's go through the wild updates here. But looking at the coin market cap, I got to refresh this because this was it's doubled on Bitcoin since I last pulled it up. So down 8% for the last 24 hours. You're seeing Ethereum, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, down 20%, but definitely big numbers across the board, 15%. Litecoin down 14%. The altcoin picture, or the mid cap, small cap space, is even uglier. You're looking at basic attention down 24% in the last 24 hours. ZIL, AE, Bitcoin Diamond. Nobody trades Bitcoin Diamond. Stratus. And, there was some names that were holding up very nicely over the last couple of days. And then yesterday, just really the market carnage overwhelmed even the bullishness in some of the names like Mana, which had a very nice run here over the last couple of days versus BTC. Since that breakout, you saw Mana go as high as 38%, 39%. Was looking pretty good there. Topped yesterday, since been pulling back. You saw Go have a pretty good little breakout, another 30% move. And so there was a few little holdouts there. Link was bouncing back very strongly from that pullback it had here. And, relatively speaking, it's still not even that bad. I mean, it has had a pullback, but still up, it was up pretty decently just in the last couple of days, up about 33%, holding back. But look at that, still holding up. I mean, compared to most other charts. Now, obviously, this is versus Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's dropping, so this is dropping as well. Just keep that in mind. But most others have seen a pretty decent smackening. Here's Cardano. Let's go to some of the other Coinbase names. You look at names like Zcash, was setting up for a breakout, smacked down there. Stellar Lumens was a big winner last week, pulling back. Seen some pretty good volume coming in on Stellar here, so it'll be interesting to see if that can finally find a low. It's hitting a little bit of a support zone right now, but there has been no place to hide in this pullback here, other than if you were jumping into some of these other stable coins. So things like the True USD or PAX, which had a pretty good run versus USD Tether. These are the two charts. They're still going as Tether continues to sell off hard. So if I'm in a trading account such as Binance, this is where I'm parking right now, is in these type of names here. And that's kind of really been the case for the last couple of days, just because it's been Bitcoin for me and some of these other names. But now that Bitcoin's really selling off, where do you go? So 56.86, 56.70 on Coinbase as the selling pressure continues. Ethereum back down to sub 180. At one point hit $167 on Ethereum. And the volume there too is pretty massive here on the day. And the day is still young. I mean, we still got quite a few hours left on the day before the daily close, so you can expect volume to really spike here. It'll be one of those big days. And looking at Ethereum here, what was the low that we saw back here? That was 166.76. Today's low, 167.46 so far. Could continue lower, but almost to the dollar. Hit that exact same point there again. See where it lands at the end of the day. But how many is, for a lot of you guys, is this capitulation? Is this screw it, get out of the way, dump? Or is this I'm buying? Did someone declare war? Man, I hope not. Are stocks getting wrecked? Let's go take a look at the stock market. Capitulate lower. Let's see here. Looking at the stock market today. Well, I mean, they're getting hammered, but not like the other day. Dow was down like 600 on Monday. Yesterday tried to bounce. But, you guys know where I stand on the stock market. We've been bearish for the last couple of weeks anyway. Stocks have been relatively smashed hard. When you look at the big names like Amazon, names like Apple, right? The leaders, the guys that hit $1 trillion, where it's like, okay, if your stock hits $1 trillion, you might want to take some profits on that. $1 trillion. But they're breaking down, right? These are the leading stocks. And when they start to go, a lot of the market tends to follow. And you look at the major indices, certainly taking a beating here over the last couple of weeks. Not as bad as Bitcoin has taken today, but it's certainly been under some selling pressure. Going back to BTC though, yeah, part of me says, finally, right? We're out of that holding pattern, that very tight action. The other part is, well, that sucks. Right? We broke lower. Everybody wanted it to break higher, of course, but it's always going to be interesting to see how this plays out for the rest of the week. Does it bounce? Does it just stay dead here at the lows and then see another leg lower, right? Is it one of these guys that then ends up lower? That's going to be the interesting part. I have not bought the dip yet. Not buying this dip here, just still staying defensive. Just because the momentum is still very high and it's going to be very volatile today, I expect. If you look at the shorter term time frames, this is going to be one of those days where, you know, the 5-minute, 15-minute candles start to swing $100 at a time. I mean, look at that last 15-minute candle. That was a 4% swing in a 15-minute candle. So a pretty big move, but of course that comes on the back of a 6.5%, almost 7% drop in the prior 15-minute candle. So just insane volatility, even on the shorter term time frames. When prices move that fast, it's hard to do anything. I'm not too inclined to play that game. The Band-Aid is finally ripped off. It feels like it. You guys know I like to say, just rip the Band-Aid off already. Enough with the slow grind. Oh, buy at 5K. You know, that's what I'm thinking. If it starts to hit that level, I'm like, well, these are the big picture levels that I'm watching. So let's go to the Coinbase chart again. This is the weekly. You know, seeing the big run up. If you see the pullback here, let me take the log off. Looks a little bit more dramatic. There we go. So if you look at the big run up and the pullback here, this descending triangle, the spike lower, that last major support level below here, of course, would be that 5K zone, maybe as low as 4,800. Let me put the log back on here. If we do a Fibonacci retracement level, and this is the argument, like, where do you start this, right? Do you start the entire life history? And if you go on Bitstamp, that'd be even further. I like to start it where I consider the bull run really began. And for me, that was when it started to really break out of these prior highs and then put in this low. So around that $800 or $900 level is really where I would look at that impulse leg. And so if you go to that $800-900 level up to the peak that we saw, the 786 level, which is a very deep retracement, by the way. You never like to see them really break the 618 level, but the 786 level lies right at 4,900, give or take. And so that's really kind of lining up well with this prior support level. So that's the next level to be looking at. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to just take the cues. I'm not going to be like blindly buying a specific price zone. If it comes down to 5K, I'm just not going to blindly buy it. I'm going to wait for some cues. I'm going to look for some bounce, some reversal action to start showing up. You know, maybe on the shorter term time frames, a little bit of a double bottom or something along those lines, and just go from there. I don't need to catch the exact low, because if that turns out to be the exact low and it starts to reverse, I'm not going to care too much if I got it at 5K or 5,800 or 6K, right? If it starts to reverse at that point and that's it, we're done, and we start to hit higher or create a new base. You know, a few $100 in the big scheme of things over the long run, for me, it's just not going to really matter that much. So patience is beneficial here at this time. But if it hits 3K, I'm going all in. Selling my house. I'm going to buy Bitcoin. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. Oh, my goodness. Tether's pumping 8% against Bitcoin. Oh, brutal. That's a low blow. All right, let's go see what Tether's doing these days. All right, let me cycle through some of the other big cap names. Tether. Man, Tether. Look at that. Tether's still getting dumped. New low for the week. Tether. All right, so I'm going to cycle through some of these big cap names here. I know, I'm just kidding. I know you were not talking about me personally. I'm just kidding, guys. I have pretty thick skin. I've been doing these YouTube channel things for a long time. You got to have thick skin because while 90% of you guys are decent people and normal human beings, there's 10% of you out there that are just crazy. And those 10% like to dominate the comment section. Just saying. It's true. Look at anybody's Twitter feed or YouTube channel, not just mine. It is what it is. But I know that most of you are great, and I appreciate you guys being here. Let's go through some of these big cap names here. So we looked at Bitcoin, still sub $5,700. Let's go look at Ethereum. bouncing back here a little bit. Seen a nice little wick on Ethereum there. Picked up some ETH and Litecoin on the dip. Right. Look at that, man. Hit that line right to the penny there. You know, I would be inclined to say that you'll see a retest of the low. I mean, that's a 7% bounce off the low. Usually the way it plays out, it's just a reaction off of that crazy sell-off. You'll see another test, ideally a higher low, something like that. And then at that point, those are kind of the signals I look for. Okay, maybe I'll start taking some shots, some positions here, because then you have a little bit of an established low where you can get out of the way if it continues lower. And I'm talking trading here. I'm not talking like long-term entries or anything. But that's what I look for, right? Some of that kind of bounce action, kind of backfilling, back testing some of those lows. And then I'll look for a counter trade rally from there, knowing that there's a little bit of a support zone set up. But for now, I mean, it's just kind of, you're in no man's land, right? It's like anyone's guess. It could just as easily dip, 4% very quickly from here or continue bouncing. I mean, it's just hard to say. But ETH bouncing pretty good here. I'm not sure why I have ETH cracking. Let me let me go to ETH USD on Coinbase. Similar action there off the lows. Going to that hourly chart, you can see from the exact low. It's hard to see that wick there. Off about 7% from the lows. So up 7% off the lows. Going to Litecoin. Can we get 100 likes? Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody wants to like this chart, this stream. These are the worst streams to like. I was like, screw this stream. I don't want to see this stream. This is the Carnage day. Oh, man. So looking at Litecoin not bouncing as high as ETH here off the lows. Man, what was that? Down 16% in those last two 4-hour candle bars. But most of it has really been in this. I mean, look at this 15-minute candle. Down 10%. The next 15-minute candle was up and down about 4% each way. Blood in the streets. Buy, buy, buy. Historically, this has marked a good place to buy. It's just where do you buy, right? Do you buy at 45? Do you buy at 43? Do you wait for 40? Do you wait for 39? What's Tom Lee going to say now? Man. That $25,000 call by year end is looking pretty slim now. I don't think it's going to happen. Oh, man. So looking at Bitfinex is getting smashed here pretty good. Binance, 5,900, even sub 6K on Binance. ETH, all right, let's keep going down the list. Let's go to Ripple. Looking at the Ripple USDT chart here on Binance. Bouncing off the lows, similar to ETH here, off about 6% or so from the lows. But again, let's keep it all relative, guys. This thing dropped 17% very quickly. It's normal to see a little bit of a bounce here. I'm going to just wait it out today and be a little patient, keeping on the charts here. It's going to be a chart watching day. Looking at Tether, I got to keep checking on Tether because this guy is just not looking good. True USD and PAX have been a little bit of a port in the storm here for the Tether holders. If you switched. IOTA. Wow, look at that wick on IOTA. IOTA went down to 35 cents there on Binance. Man, what a break that was. This was down 30% from that break point there. The bounce has been pretty big on IOTA. This guy here is bouncing about 21% off the lows. This is on Bitfinex. Holy moly. That's a wick. Anybody buy IOTA and make a quick 20% in 5 minutes? Wowzers. Crazy action today. Volatility is going to be insane today. Well, looks like I'm going to be eating some ramen noodles this weekend. Back to ramen for the foreseeable future. Okay, maybe not. But hey, why not? So a lot of these charts were kind of setting up these very tight patterns. Many of them were looking on the bearish side. So you look at names like Ontology. They had that big break today. Look at something like Binance Coin. Was just not looking pretty. and it was very vulnerable looking. Needed to break higher to kind of negate some of that. Had a big break lower. Neo, $13 Neo. Anybody buying some Neo right here? Neo again, descending triangle here in the bigger picture, breaking below support, long time support. The low on Neo in August was, what was that low? 1380. And so this one briefly went below the $13 mark on Neo. Poor Neo just getting smashed. But there was some other names that were a little bit more neutral looking. So look at something like Ethereum, something like EOS, right, where they were putting in these big wedges, these big symmetrical patterns. And it was just one of these. This thing's going to break out of here. And what did I post in the channel here? I said before December. I did not expect to see it so quickly after. That was like 2 days ago when I posted that. I said before December, we'll likely see a breakout here. And man, oh man, breaking lower on EOS, Ethereum, basically similar price action there. You saw that big wedge off the lows, breaking lower there. Icon just continues to make new lows here. Looking at Icon, undercutting the August lows. The lows there, what was that? 45.4, hitting about 43 today, undercutting that. And so the market's selling pressure, it just continues. You're seeing the tweets, you're seeing all the major crypto news channels online and whatnot, just kind of posting carnage everywhere. So let me refresh this. Seeing a little bit of bounce here yet? No. I'm going to go to the view all here, going to the sub-billion-dollar mark names, the 100 million to billion-dollar marks, and I'm going to kind of just sort that 24-hour, looking at the price change for those names over the last 24 hours. That's not the billion-dollar mark. Come on, it's refreshing. I'll give it a sec here. I'm pushing my bandwidth too hard, apparently. Quantum, let me go to Quantum. Quantum. $3 Quantum. Not sure. Looks like a pretty good deal at $3. $3 Quantum, retesting the September lows here again. This thing is still refreshing here on this stream. So thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate you joining me today on this red day. You guys don't want to see a white screen. Let me switch that over. Remember to hit those likes, subscribe if you already don't. But man, the carnage. Let me go through some of the comments here. Sounds like some of you guys are buying the dip. Oh, it's a good stream. I love sharing these monumental, you're right. These monumental moments with other crypto, whether good or bad, man. We've been through some interesting times as a community here. And so appreciate you guys being here as always. This is some interesting stuff, to say the least. There's still people kind of waking up and going, what the heck? Smashed. I woke up this morning and I thought that $100 sell-off was big. I was like, oh man, selling off. And I was doing a stream for the group, and then real time we started seeing breaking 6K and going lower. So I thought I got to go live. Got to go live with the group here. Let me see here. Bitcoin Cash is dying. I'm just reading your guys' comments. It's hard to keep up when there's this many people on the stream looking at the comments here. Let me go to the coin market cap again. I want to take a look at some of the bigger. Oh, it's not filtering. Fine, don't filter. Who's the big losers today? Oh, look at the big winners. The stable coins, quote unquote stable coins. USD, CoinTrueUSD, and PAX. Metaverse, hold it up. Tezos, Chainlink, we looked at that one earlier, was having a nice run. It's still, relatively speaking, holding up well, but that's it. Doge, Bitcoin Gold. At the bottom of the list, though, is the carnage across the board. So really the same story. You guys probably don't want to see more big red candles. Anyway, Ripple. What's Ripple back at? 45-cent Ripple. Nulls. Let's go look at nulls. I'll go nulls BTC here. Bouncing back. Big reversal so far. Look at that. Smaller cap name though, right? Nulls is, what does that come out to? Knowles is sitting at $36 million. Very small cap name. VeChain. Oof, the carnage on VeChain continues. Just no love for VeChain. Just has drifted lower, and this is a big spike lower on VeChain here today. Tron. Where's the Tron clan? I know you guys are out there. You Tron holders. Oh man, breaking below, but actually, well, yeah, it's bad. I'm not gonna say it's good. It's definitely not good. BTC $1.99 by September, by December. $1. You should just say $1. Why add 99 cents? Just say $1. You're jumping in on vet, man. It's almost one of those like, if you just buy some stuff here and forget about it for a few days, likely will turn out to be not a bad place to buy. But I'm not going to recommend that because anything can happen. So BTC pulling back down to the lows here. Looking at the Bitstamp exchange. I'm going to the hourly charts here. Sorry about all my jumping around. And so seeing if it can hold this low, this most recent low. Probably won't, but we'll see if it can hold the low there. That's basically 55.40, 55.30 or so. Pulling back again. Ripple to replace Swift. Yeah, I saw that. But hasn't that been their mantra since day one? I remember that was the first thing that interested me in Ripple when it was 3 cents back in the day. And it was like, wow, these guys are going to basically do what Swift is trying to do. But is the XRP token going to benefit from that, right? That's what everybody wants to know. All right, seeing a little bit of a low here, putting in around 55.61 was the low. What is that exactly? 55.60.00 on Coinbase. Trying to test that low again here, but man, another red day for the crypto space. When does it end? Is this capitulation? Is this the low, or is this the beginning of another wave down to come for the next couple of months here? Now, and I'm totally respectful of everyone's opinion, so it's okay to disagree. But there's a lot of folks out there that are saying, this is going to drop lower and Bitcoin's going to 3K or something, right? Okay, I mean it could. I'm not in that camp yet. Be interesting to see where we land. But I've always said if we do see a break below 6K. This little zone here is really the place where I think we'll see an accumulation zone happen, some bottoming out. I have the right to right to reserve to change my mind at any time, but until that happens, I'm going to go. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. But where are you guys at? Going to 3K? No, I see a comment to 3K. Let's go take a look at Nano. We'll take a look at some of those other ones. Capitulation phase, maybe. And it's also like, would you rather hold the Bitcoin here, or would you rather hold the dollar or the euro or Tether? I don't want to hold Tethers right now. Dang, Tethers. 50K, 5K. Well, you can't say 50K yet. We know it's going to go to 50K eventually. But where's the low? 60K. You guys are going in the wrong direction. 1,000K. Okay, all right. Oh man. All right, let's go back. So, all right. So here's a better question. Here's a better question. Okay, of the altcoins, if you had to pick 3 besides Bitcoin that you would hold, what are those 3 altcoins? Now, I'm still technically a fan of the protocol name, so I think some of those are really the better names to hold in my opinion. So things like Obviously, Ethereum is the big platform name, but beyond Ethereum, some of these others, right, that are going to try to compete, and there's some that are not even on this list yet that will certainly come out, things like Definity, things like some of those other ones there, but those are kind of the names that I'm looking at. So, and they're all over the place from a market cap perspective. Neo, Ontology, Quantum, right? Some of those, Icon, where they have just really seen a big pullback. So from a value perspective, from a long-term potential perspective, those are the ones I'm looking at. There's the currency play, but is there really that much room for that many currencies, right? Pure currencies. Now we know Bitcoin has some speed issues, and so who's going to be the alternative currency, right? And that's the other question. And of course, it's coming, but governments and banks and all that stuff are going to start issuing more and more of their currencies. You're already seeing it in some of these smaller nations, and I expect you'll continue to see that. Will the crypto diehards refuse to use them? Will the general public accept those currencies, right? I posted a tweet yesterday on it was a Bloomberg article on the stable coins, right? And just kind of the interest in investing in those. And essentially, it's just basically like the new version of investing in, the Fed or something like that, right? Where there's some benefits to having the printing of dollars available to you, whether it's crypto dollars or anything like that. But that was an interesting read there. And there's apparently 120 stable coins. I didn't realize it was that high already. There's 120. I can only name off maybe 5. So Litecoin and Dash. Dash too, okay. Dash, ETH, Lumens. I don't have anything against Dash. I'm kind of surprised to see so many comments on Dash. I do have a little bit of Dash, by the way. Neo, ETH, EOS, ETH, and BAT. EOS, Neo, Cardano, Lumens, ETH, Komodo. Interesting. Okay. Ethereum Classic. You're crazy like that. Yes, you are. Lumens, BAT, 0x. Okay. OMG. Yeah, OMG is one that I think longer term definitely has some potential. BitConnect. Okay. Doge and BitConnect. I don't think Dash is going away. Lisk. Could you give us the precise reasons for today's breakdown? There's probably more than one reason, and this is just my opinion. I have no idea at the end of the day why it's breaking down. And usually, I'm one of those shoot first, ask questions later kind of guy when I'm trading and holding coins. Just so you know, I do the research after the fact, but I don't wait. I look at the charts. I'm a chart guy. But there was a couple of reasons, right? Obviously, Tether yesterday started some selling. We saw some fears around that. You can see there was a pretty good correlation with the Tether movement. Every time it was selling off, Bitcoin would sell off. When it would bounce a little bit. You're still seeing some of that. So that is one part of it. You're still seeing some of the fears around that, some potential systemic issues, right? The whole Tether FUD is back again. The Bitcoin Cash debacle is another element to that, right? And there was talk about shifting hash power out of BTC into some of these others, especially as the fork approaches. That whole fight is still going on, which is going to be the new dominant chain. And then once Bitcoin breaks support, I mean, it's just purely the charts, right? At that point, you've got stops being triggered. This chart has been very tight, very vulnerable one way or the other for quite some time. We saw shorts really starting to cover during this pullback, surprisingly. And so there was actually less shorts going into this pullback. It wasn't like we were right for a big short short squeeze. And of course, you're seeing the break, the price is vulnerable, stops are triggered. Once we start to see that happen, the selling accelerates, kind of just feeds on itself. And so you're seeing a lot of that. Yeah, you can argue that there's the stock selling, right? The broader economics in play. The risk off is certainly in play right now. You're seeing, the tech stocks, a lot of those type of things just really take a beating over the last couple of weeks, really the last couple of months, or since October is really when that started to peak out. Is there one reason, right? I don't know, and I don't think so. It's not like we saw a news report come out by the SEC that says all altcoins are banned or something like that, right? Crypto is done. I mean, we're not seeing that. You're not seeing a rejection of the ETF. So is it just one reason? Rarely is it one reason. Sometimes it is. There's news. Can it be the CBOE? Sure, right? The futures dates and all that. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to go with the price action. It's Craig Wright, 100%. Could be Satoshi, right? Satoshi selling his Bitcoin, right? He's Satoshi Nakamoto, apparently. So you got these whales, and you got to remember there's a handful of whales that really control a lot of Bitcoin. Maybe it's the Mount Gox whale. Maybe he's selling some more. No, I'm kidding. Okay. He wants to kill mining. I saw that. He wants to destroy crypto. For being Satoshi Nakamoto, he's not being very nice. All right, so looking at this is on Bitfinex, not quite undercutting the prior lows. We did see it undercut here briefly on Coinbase. You saw prices wick right below the most recent low, basically matching it up. See if we can get a bounce off of that level. But all in all, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being here. Wanted to go live on this, catching this real time, share this moment, whether good or bad or crazy or opportunistic with you guys. But always appreciate you guys being here. And, I was just thinking, remember this time last year when Bitcoin Cash was going to take over the world and we were watching Bitcoin drop? This was mid-November, and it was, let's go back to that. That was, and you guys, many of you guys were with me during that. And that was one of the epic multi-hour live streams. Today won't be one of those. Don't worry. But when you look at that, I mean, that was basically this time last year, and that was 5K, 6K BTC. And then we saw the insane run up after that. Now, I'm not expecting the insane run up after that this time because that scenario was different. We were already in an upstream and looking at that. But let's go to those two charts. So looking at, I'm going to do on Bitstamp here, BTC, USD, Bitstamp. And down here, I'll do, let me fix these for you guys. I'll do the BTC or BCH. There we go. And so if we go to the weeklies on both of these guys, or the dailies, dailies. That was the flippening. You remember that? For those of you guys that were watching the flippening. And that was back here, right? We saw this scare. Here was Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was right around that 6K or 7K and was bouncing around. And we saw this was SegWit 2X, and then they canceled it. And then we saw the big sell-off, and prices went down into the 5Ks. And right around that same time frame, right, we were seeing the big spike. Oh, it doesn't look like it was on Bitstamp at the time here. Let me go to Bitfinex then. Bitfinex dollar, but we were seeing the big spike in Bitcoin Cash, and it was like, oh, it's going to take over the world. And Bitcoin Cash in a number of days, went from hundreds and peaked during that live stream. And this is literally the exact low of the Bitcoin sell-off here. And during that live stream, Bitcoin Cash peaked at almost 2,800. It was 2,799 here on Bitfinex. And then started to really sell off, and we saw Bitcoin take off from there. So that was pretty wild, but it's interesting, right? That was like almost the exact same day. It was November 12th of last year when we saw that big sell-off. Turned out to be a good market buy opportunity. I remember I was on the live stream with you guys, and it was like 3 a.m. my time, and I said, screw it, I'm buying some Bitcoin here. I did not buy enough, apparently, because a couple months later, we were at 20,000, and I was going, why did I just buy a little bit? It is what it is. So everyone's getting Node Investor shirts, right? It was today's date. I survived the Node Investor live stream. But different scenario here today. Bitcoin Cash always causing trouble. But anyway. All right, my friends. Well, the selling continues. I may jump on later today. We'll see how the day ends. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go for now. At what level do I recommend buying? So I said it briefly earlier. I have a level where I think we'll see support, but I'm not going to just blindly buy any particular level. What I'm going to be looking for are those signs of potential reversal, big hammer bottom, some volume, some green on the shorter time frames. But I'm not going to just necessarily pick a level and say, that's it, I'm going to buy when it hits that. I know some of you guys do. That's awesome. I mean, you have the levels picked out, you have your orders set, and you'll get filled, and it is what it is. But I'll just kind of take it one candle at a time, my friends. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. I will likely see you guys later today, later this evening. We'll see how the day goes. If not, at least expect a regular market update video from me. So thank you so much for being here, guys, as always. I appreciate you guys as always. Let's see where these crypto markets go from here. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.